Hello, today we're in my office and we're addressing the question, what is a professor? But really my question is, what does a professor profess? This question came to me the other day in my office. A colleague came by and he said, if a student wants a degree, they should go to online school. But if a student wants an education, they should find a teacher. And that got me thinking, what is a teacher supposed to teach these days in an age of skepticism? And then I realized, oh, I'm a professor. I have been a student for so long, I hadn't realized that. I'm in a role of being a professor, a teacher, a leader. And so here I am, a professor, and I'm wondering, what does a professor profess? So I jotted down some notes for you. Professors profess their love. And this love is eros, or desire. And their instruction is an invitation to love what they love. As a professor, I want to invite students into my world to think about the value of the true and the good and the beautiful, things that I love. And I want my students to learn wisdom's ways. These are old school things, right? Wisdom, truth, what do we do with those today? But more and more, I'm observing a spirit of apathy in my students. And maybe apathy's always been there, but the students are professing apathy to me now. What is apathy? Apatheia. It's without passion. So in Stoicism, it's the state of not being disturbed by the passions. And Stoicism is a movement in ethics, in philosophy, that is a denial of desires. And here's a quote from Stoicism. And incidentally, Stoicism has roots in cynicism, so another movement in philosophy. Here's a quote about Stoicism. Pain is slight of opinion, has added nothing to it. In thinking it slight, you will make it slight. Everything depends on opinion. Ambition, luxury, greed, these all hark back to opinion. It is according to opinion that we suffer. So here's the key piece, suffering. So let us also win the way to victory in all our struggles. For the reward is virtue, steadfastness of soul, and a peace that is won for all time. So notice this, pain is slight of opinion. Pain and suffering are to be avoided in Stoicism. And what causes pain? Things like ambition, things like passion. Passion is caring about something, and when you care about something, you risk being hurt by something, right? But what does this mean for us? What are the assumptions here? The assumptions are that pain is bad. Is pain bad? What if it's good for you? What if it's a symptom of something? But to ask these questions already assumes that we care about the answer. And so we can't both be apathetic and care. So we need something. We need pathos. Pathos is passion, suffering, emotion. And emotion is like the thrill, the kick, the pulse, the passion, the fire in the ideas. So doing thinking can be an emotional investment as well. It necessarily will be. Now, students also tell me that they go by feeling, and a philosopher named Robert George says we're living in an age of feeling. I was unconvinced of this. I thought we were living in an age of pragmatism, but maybe they're both. Maybe we are living in an age of feeling. So I want to get you in the gut. I want to get you in your feels, okay? So two emotions come to mind as a professor inviting students to the world of ideas. Two emotions that are good and healthy that you should have. And the first is fear, right? What do you fear? What do you fear the most? We need fear of something. And love is the other emotion we need. So fear and love, they go together. Maybe you disagree with me, that's okay. As long as you're thinking, what do we fear the most? Do you fear death? physical death, or do you fear spiritual death? Ooh, what's that? Spiritual death. It's the condition of meaninglessness, where we cannot find meaning in life. And this leads to boredom, like cosmic boredom. Not just, oh, I'm bored for like right now, but everything is boring. If everything is meaningless, then everything would be boring, right? And when things are boring, we can't stand it. And so we look for something to fill the boredom. And the thing that fills the boredom is not going to satisfy. So we end up going into excess. So excess comes in, and it could come in many ways. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, maybe excessive video game playing, maybe excessive cat videos on YouTube. But I tend to think it gets deeper and deeper. And then we waste our lives, and we waste our time and effort, and then we feel guilty about that. So spiritual death, meaninglessness, boredom, and guilt. It's a condition of the soul. Do you care about your soul? I care about your soul. Now, we fear this condition. And if you don't, maybe I've raised your awareness a little bit so that you start fearing that condition now. Fear meaninglessness. Now, this is healthy because if we fear meaninglessness, this will motivate us to pursue meaning. And that's what we need. We need meaning, and we need to seek after it. So if you're feeling there is no meaning, check yourself. Why do you think that? There's no meaning? What idea is giving rise to that? Do you think we can't know? So once we begin seeking, let's say you're curious. She said something about the good. Ooh, what is the good? Well, let's say you start seeking after the good and you find the good, then you will start loving the good. So here's the other emotion that you need. Love. Love of truth. Love of wisdom. That's what philosophy is. Love of wisdom. And so this is eros love. This is passion. This is the emotion that puts the fire in the pursuit. So you need to love something. So the love that will compel the life of the mind is the love of wisdom. And that's what philosophy is. It's a love of wisdom. So, two emotions you need. Fear and love. Fear of meaninglessness, love of meaning. Now, here's another thing I want to bring to your mind is that we must be open to the possibility of truth. And we must be receptive to the truth when it shows up. Are you looking for it? One of my favorite philosophers, Heraclitus, and I'm always mentioning him, said that the Logos is all around us, but men fail to see it. And why do we fail to see it? Because our eyes are not open to it. So you have to look for it. And the value is that truth is life-giving. It has life-giving qualities, spiritual life-giving. And it's often said, if you know the truth will set you free. And if you know the truth will set you free from falsehood, from ignorance, from lies. So you should be interested in the truth, and you should want to pursue the truth. But what if you think there isn't truth? Why not? What makes you think that? How did you get that idea? Maybe that's a falsehood. Falsehood is what leads to death, the spiritual death. So, seeking, love, and what about your soul? Do you have a soul? How would you know? Have you even thought about that? And if you had a soul, would you care about it? I said I care for your soul. So do you care for your own soul? And what should we seek? We should seek what is clear. What's clear and easily knowable. Clear to reason. You're a rational being. You should seek what is clear. What does it look like to seek what is clear? Like, how would I know if I'm doing that or not? Think about what it takes to pursue a treasure. Sometimes I do this to my students. I say, let's say I found the map to the Lost Dutchman's mine, which is right east of here, where I am. The Lost Dutchman's mine is this rumor where there's, a treasure hidden in the mountains. What if we had a map to that, a secret map, and I said, hey, do you guys want to help me find the treasure? I have the map. It seems like it would take a lot of work, right? It's the desert, it's hot, it's dry, there's rocks, you have to dig. People seem to be willing to put in the effort to pursue money or treasure, but what if knowledge and wisdom is more valuable than treasure? What kind of work would you be willing to put into that kind of thing? That's what seeking is like. We seek for things that are valuable. So, do you think knowing the truth is valuable? All right. This seeking involves devotion. This is something we don't really talk about as professors. Devotion. Devotion to what? What is devotion anyway? Are you devoted to anything? Devotion is like reverence, piety, dedication, commitment. Ooh, commitment, yeah. This is where love comes in. The professor is one who loves the discipline. You have to love what you teach. In my case, it's philosophy. I love philosophy. I'm like in love with philosophy. You know that, right? Why don't you marry it? I did. All right, so the professor is one who loves the discipline and loves the students. So see, I love you. I'm devoted to the pursuit of wisdom, and I think you need it. Incidentally, I'm kind of like the one who introduces the past to you, and you're the one that keeps me in the present. So we need each other. I will invite you into my world. You have to let me into your world a little bit too. Otherwise, I won't be cool, you know? I'll be like old and boring. No one will listen to me. So I'm the gap between you and the past. And I think you need to come into my world a little bit to see what I love, because I want to introduce you to philosophy. I'm devoted to the pursuit of wisdom, and I think you need it for life, and you need it for meaning, and you need it for, we need it for the life of the community. Not just at this place, not just online, but the world needs it. We're moving towards a global civilization. I don't know if you've noticed, but things are kind of weird out there. Lots of division. So I think we need a devotion to the truth, and the world needs that too right now. So we need to think about this. What is the care of the soul, and why is that important? Do you have a soul, and do you care about it? What is your soul? Your soul is yourself. It's your the eye that does the seeing. So do you care about your soul, and should I care about it too? What if I care about it more than you do? Can I? No. Come on. Maybe, right? All right, we've been talking about seeking what is clear, what is true, what is the good. And we've been talking about a devotion to wisdom. We talked about soul care a little bit. What is soul care? Socrates thought that this was the ethical side of philosophy, care of the soul, and it's a proper ordering of yourself. So we have intellect, which is what I'm focusing on, emotion, which is what I'm trying to use to get you interested, and will, which is our actional side. And so to have care of the soul is to have a harmonious soul, to have balance between your thoughts, emotions, and wills. Sometimes our souls get disordered. We haven't cared for our intellectual life enough. So the Stoics, the quote I read earlier, they were looking for calm. The way to have calm is to have harmony, to have peace. And to have peace, you have to have meaning. So they may have been missing something. I wonder if the Stoics really maintained that kind of calm and had meaning. So they were looking for calm, and part of this for them was the absence of pain, and the pain that comes with strong passions. But pleasure and pain are feelings, and where do these feelings come from? The Stoics rightly saw that they come from beliefs, and they wrongly thought that if we get rid of beliefs, we'll get rid of pain. That's a mistake, right? You can't get rid of beliefs. You're a human being. That in itself is a belief too, right? Oh, if I get rid of my beliefs, then I won't have any pain. That's a belief too. And maybe that's the source of a lot of pain. And maybe it's still causing pain today. So it's kind of soul killing to deny beliefs. This is skepticism. We can't really know what is clear. Nobody can really know what is clear. It leaves us in a lot of doubt. And that doubt is a kind of pain. So we can't ignore the reality of beliefs, of truth, of knowledge, of wisdom. These are things we want and need, and we've been told we can't have them. These are the source of life for humans. So what can we do? If we don't order our soul right, if we don't recognize that we have a soul, and we don't feed our intellectual life, then we will resort to the will and to the feelings to get what we want. We'll do power plays and emotional appeals. And those are informal fallacies, and they're dehumanizing. It's not treating us like full humans. So, and it ignores there is possibly some good in suffering. Suffering is a callback. It calls us to stop and think deeply about our view of the good. So, harmony results when we place right thinking as our priority. So that's going to be my emphasis. Good thinking. Remember, good thinking. Right thinking leads to right emotion and right action. And that's righteousness, right? So not seeking to know results in a failure to understand what is clear, what is true, and it results in a failure to act right. It leads to death. And remember, we fear death. It leads to spiritual death. Death of ourselves, of our relationships, of our community, of our culture. And that's bad, right? So what are we going to do? If we seek to know what is clear, then we will know what is clear. If you're seeking, you will know. This is called integrity. This is where integrity comes in. We are one being. You're one person, right? And integrity says we should have wholeness. We should act as one being. We should have harmony in ourself. We should have integrity between what we say and what we do. So that means if you say something, you should do it. If you say you're a skeptic, live that way. If you say you believe this, you should live that way. So if we are rational beings, integrity would have us use our reason to seek and to know what is clear to reason. If we say nothing is clear, then integrity would have us to stop using words and stop using words as if they mean something. So if nothing is clear, then what I'm saying right now is not clear either. Maybe I should stop talking. That would be nice, but people usually don't do that, right? So if nothing is clear, then we will lose all meaning. So, and I didn't make that up. That's a natural result. If words are meaningless, then blah, 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 right? Words, 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 words. Now, here's something else we should consider. If we love ourselves, we will seek the good for ourselves. So part of soul care is love yourself. Seek the good for yourself. And our seeking after the true and the good must include the possibility of loving God. Yeah, it should include love of neighbor. So don't disclude or rule out the possibility that there could be God, because that's a really big topic in philosophy. Does God exist or not? Okay. And what about my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? Everybody. All human beings are your neighbor. So do you love them? How could you love them if you don't first love yourself? And if you don't seek the good for yourself, how could you seek it for anybody else? We can't seek the good alone, though. So here's where we also need community. We need others. We need a community. And that's what an education is about. It's a community of learners. Someone recently said if they, I mentioned this, right? If you want an education, you need to get a teacher. But I would suggest you also need to get friends. And you need to get others, people you disagree with too. They're good for learning. How would you know what you believe in if you didn't have a challenge to it? So you shouldn't turn off ideas because you disagree with them. You should listen to them, think about them, and possibly come up with a counter example if you disagree. I mean, maybe people will persuade you. That's part of education too, right? Knowing how to spot good thinking and bad thinking, and when to accept good thinking. All right, so what does a professor profess? A love for the discipline and a love for the students. I love philosophy, and I want you to love philosophy too. I love the truth. I love the intellectual life. I love thinking, I love books. And I am hopelessly devoted to this way of life, and I want to invite you into that way of life. I write books. People don't read, though. That's why I'm making these videos, because you know what? People don't read. And I want you to consider the possibility that reading could be great.